Swadika, thank you for joining us on Newsline. We are broadcasting live on NBT, Radio Thailand FM 88, and on NBT World. It's Friday, November the 20th of 2015, and you're with me, Tra Chirakosan. Welcome to today's segment of Thailand Moves Forward. In our first story, Prime Minister Prayuth Chanocha has met with U.S. President Barack Obama at the 23rd Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, where both parties confirmed the continuation of their long alliance. The Prime Minister said he had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Obama unofficially during the APEC summit as they were sitting next to each other. General Prayuth thanked the American president for assigning a new ambassador to Thailand, while Mr. Obama said Thailand has been an American ally for a long time and that the two nations wouldn't abandon one another. The U.S. president also expressed his understanding regarding the complexity of the political situation in the country and showed support for the country's efforts to restore democracy. The premier, in turn, said he would continue to do his best. The Prime Minister has accepted an invitation from Russia to visit the country and strengthen bilateral relations, marking 120 years of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Deputy Government Spokesperson Major General Wirachon Sukontapatipak revealed that Prime Minister General Prayuth Chanocha met with his Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev on the sidelines of the APEC summit in Manila, Philippines. General Prayuth accepted an invitation to visit Russia in May of 2016, marking 120 years of diplomatic relations between Thailand and Russia. The two prime ministers also agreed that at the beginning of next year, there would be a meeting in Russia of deputy prime ministers and ministers related to economic and national security affairs. The meetings would draft trade and investment agreements to be finalized and signed during General Prayuth's visit in May. The Thai Prime Minister took his opportunity to affirm with Mr. Medvedev that Thailand and Russia would establish closer ties in all areas, from the economy, energy security, and agricultural trade to national defense and security intelligence. Minister of Interior General Anupong Pauchinda has instructed deputy governors and district chiefs nationwide to urgently implement the government's policy in collaboration with all relevant units for the highest efficiency. The minister delivered policy and guidelines on how to carry out important missions of the government and the Ministry of Interior to deputy governors and district chiefs. He stressed that they should work for the public with efficiency for concrete results, especially in steps in which district chiefs communicate with the government's policy. General Anupong also emphasized national agenda items including national security, respect for the monarchy, national reconciliation, fighting against narcotic drugs and human trafficking, corruption prevention, and promotion of community economy. Minister of Labor Sirichai Disakun has inspected a port-in, port-out control center in Sathip district and found no illegal activities there. He also visited a wire harness company operating at the Lamchabang Industrial Estate. General Sirichai visited the Thai Summit Harness Public Company Limited, a producer of wire harness and cable wire for automobiles at Lamchabang. The minister inspected the company's working environment and listened to problems of the employees. The information received from his visit to the company will be used for the ministry's prevention of and solutions to human trafficking and drug trafficking in the area. The minister then traveled to the port-in, port-out control center in Sathip to meet the employers and workers who work there and listen to their issues. Illegal activities or acts considered as human trafficking were not found. The National Legislative Assembly has approved the appointment of new anti-graft commissioners. The NLA held a meeting which was chaired by its first Vice President, Surachai Liangbunlerchai. The meeting has discussed and agreed to approve the nomination of 5 new members of the National Anti-Corruption Commission whose positions have been vacant after the end of the term of the previous commissioners. The 5 nominations were selected through a process that saw 59 applicants whose records have been scrutinized by the selection committee. The final selection decision was achieved through a secret ballot, and those who were chosen as new commissioners are former member of the Office of Auditor General Witya Kompitak, former Director General of the Special Department of Investigation Suwana Tuta, former Deputy National Police Chief Police General Wacharapon Prasan Rachakit, Senior Supreme Court Judge Surasak Siwichian, and former Director of the Army Internal Audit Office General Bunyawat Kriyahong. The NLA will accordingly submit all these names for the royal endorsement. The Constitution Drafting Commission, or CDC, has not yet reached a conclusion on the origin of senators under the new charter. This is according to the team's spokesman. CDC spokesman Udom Rat Amarit said the charter drafting team has still been deliberating about such details as the origin, number, qualifications, and the term in office, as well as the authority of senators. Mr. Udom said that the CDC has assigned the subcommittee in charge of the study of the legislative structure to see how the structure of the Senate should be when the new charter is in effect. He added that the charter drafters have also discussed the adjustment of the calculation of the number of party-listed members of Parliament in case of an overhang or when the election results lead the total number of seats to exceed 150. The CDC spokesman said that the charter drafters are determined to make sure the calculation that will come out will be the best and the most fair for all. The Tourism Authority of Thailand is preparing to hold a culture and recreation event scheduled for early next month. The event, called Miracle of Thai Culture and International Recreation in honor of His Majesty the King, is aimed at promoting the 2015 Discover Thainess campaign. Participants will have the opportunity to enjoy unique attractions and activities such as tours of the Royal Palace, Temple of the Emerald Buddha, Damneun Saduok Floating Market, Thai boxing shows, and Thai massage therapy. Chairman of the Senior Footballers Association of Thailand, Somsak Thepsutin, said the event, now in its 4th year, was expected to help enhance the image and tourism of the country. The event will also feature football matches bringing together senior players from 6 countries. The event will take place from the 2nd until the 5th of December at Ratchamankala University of Technology, Ratanakosin. A candle ceremony will be held on December 5th as a tribute to His Majesty the King. The Thai Chamber of Commerce has collaborated with the Board of Trade of Thailand and Panyapiwat Institute of Management on a joint project to boost small and medium enterprises, or SMEs. The project offers help to SMEs by giving advice from entrepreneurs behind retail giants such as Central Department Store, Big C, Macro, Tesco Lotus, Tops Supermarket, and 7-Eleven. The project is part of efforts by the Thai Chamber of Commerce and Board of Trade of Thailand to strengthen SME operators in the form of peer-to-peer teaching. Deputy Permanent Secretary of Commerce, Somchat Soitong, who gave a keynote speech at the opening ceremony for the project, said that Thailand's ailing economy is recovering and will benefit from the government's investment projects in 2016. However, he voiced concerns over the drought crisis, which is likely to persist. The Center for Economic and Business Forecasting, or CEBF, has projected that over 10 billion baht will be generated throughout this year's Loi-Krathong Festival. Mr. Thanawat Ponwichai, director of the CEBF of the University of the Thai Chamber of Commerce, pointed out that a number of Thai people, both in Bangkok and outside in the provinces, are currently intent on celebrating Loi-Krathong Festival, which this year falls on November the 25th. However, their decision whether or not to take part in the festivities could be affected by the fact that the Thai economy has yet to fully recover. Based on the center's observation of people's spending behavior prior to Loi Krathong Day this year, Minister Chanocha projected that the amount of money spent per capita will increase to 1,700 baht. As a result, there would be a total cash flow of about 11 billion baht, an increase of 2.5%, the highest growth in 3 years. The Ministry of Public Health has suggested parents to keep a close watch on their children while partaking in Loi Krathong festivities to protect them from accidents. Despite the festive atmosphere on Loi Krathong Day, Permanent Secretary for Public Health Sopon Mekton indicated that the rate of accidents on the day has been increasing every year. He cited statistics from recent years as showing that an average of 51 people were killed in road accidents on the day, while 13 others drowned. The number of children who drowned on Loi Krathong was also found to be twice as high as the average figure on a normal day. Meanwhile, over the past 5 years, more than 200 Loi Krathong revelers were wounded by firecrackers and fireworks. Of the victims, 2 reportedly succumbed to their injuries. Mr. Sopon therefore affirmed that authorities this year will place more focus on reducing the number of Loi Krathong-related accidents. He said all health units nationwide have been instructed to ask local residents to contribute to building a safe environment on the special occasion, while parents have been advised to pay close attention to their children. Chiang Mai Airport has instructed its ground staff to be on the lookout for floating lanterns and remove any that have been found on their way to the tarmac. Chiang Mai International Airport has warned its staff to watch for floating lanterns that fall in and around the airport during the Loi Krathong festival. Cleanup crews will be deployed around the clock from November 20th. Grounds inspections will be stepped up from 4 times per day to 10 times per day to ensure that the airport's apron and runways remain clear of obstructions. During last year's Loi Krathong festival, the airport recorded 142 floating lanterns on its premises and expects similar numbers during this year's celebrations. And that's the end of today's edition of Thailand Moves Forward. Before we take a quick break, let's take a look at the exchange rates and commodity prices.
Thailand is promoting 12 core values for the good of the people. Third core value: being grateful to parents and teachers.
Welcome to ASEAN, a community comprised of 10 countries, each with its unique culture and history, now unifying to bring added prosperity to the region. For centuries, each country remained independent, but now we are coming together to compete in the 21st century globalized world. ASEAN is bringing together more than 600 million citizens and a total land area of 4.4 million square kilometers, and is providing economic opportunities, trade, travel, and new educational possibilities. The combined GDP of all 10 ASEAN countries comes to a total of $2.4 trillion, which means the ASEAN entity ranks amongst the world's major economic powers. The future is here. Welcome to ASEAN, the community of opportunities. The Southeast Asia region is now becoming one.
Mr. Aphinan Chantarangsi, Director General of the Public Relations Department, or PRD, presided over the opening ceremony for a workshop on 2016's ASEAN Public Relations. The workshop, organized by the department, is for all PRD networking personnel to brainstorm ideas of publication and promotion to promote shared opportunities and benefits as Thailand is gearing towards ASEAN integration into an economic community. It is designed to lay a timeline and preparations for the Thai partnership in the ASEAN economic community at the end of 2015. The meeting also aims to explain the content of ASEAN to the target groups under the concept of ASEAN, a community of opportunity. The workshop is scheduled between November 19th and 20th, 2015 at the PRD Auditorium. Honorable guest speakers are scheduled to deliver speeches on the first day on topics of ASEAN's future directions, approaches to publicize the ASEAN content, and Thailand's opportunity in the ASEAN integration.
Today, the Public Relations Department has organized this seminar. Well, it is one of the important missions assigned by our government. We are supposed to play an important role in disseminating any ASEAN-related information to Thai people and supporting the ASEAN affairs as a whole.
The Director General said this is the good opportunity for PRD personnel to brainstorm and discuss ASEAN issues which should be publicized to target audiences and aimed at promoting the awareness of ASEAN citizens. And elsewhere around the world, Kurdish forces found the Iraqi town of Sinjar deserted and in ruins after pushing Islamic State militants out last week. The northwestern town is overrun by militants in August last year, purging its Yazidi population and turning neighbor against neighbor. The town was retaken last week, but the damage to relations between its former inhabitants may be irreparable. Empty pickup trucks descended on the town and returned laden with everything from satellite dishes to tricycles pillaged from the homes of Sunni Muslims, whom Yazidis accuse of collaborating in the atrocities committed against them. Declaring victory over the militants in Sinjar, Kurdish leader Masoud Barzani said only the flag of Kurdistan would fly over it, sending a message to the government of Iraq and other factions competing for power in the area. The U.S. House of Representatives, defying a veto threat by President Barack Obama, overwhelmingly passed Republican-backed legislation on to intensify security screenings of Syrian refugees and suspended Obama's program to admit 10,000 of them in the next year. Under the bill introduced after the terrorist attacks in Paris last Friday that killed 129 people, no refugees from Syria or Iraq could enter the United States until several top U.S. security officials verified that they did not pose a threat. Before the vote, House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy said that the bill could not stop refugees from entering the U.S., but would only place it in a pause in the process. Democrats have argued that the bill will send the wrong signal and play into the hands of Islamic State or ISIS. Democrats have proposed an alternative bill that would have required the Department of Homeland Security to tighten security for all refugees. The House measure now goes to the U.S. Senate, which is also controlled by the Republicans, although their majority there is slimmer. The Colombian government marked 3 years of peace talks with the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia as the delegations aim to sign a final agreement within a period of 6 months to end over half a century of conflict. The two sides recently set a March 23rd deadline to reach a final agreement to end Latin America's longest war, which has killed 220,000 people and displaced millions. The chief negotiators for each delegation read out statements regarding the progress of the agreement during the anniversary celebration at the permanent venue for peace talks in Havana. Head of the Colombian government delegation, Humberto de la Calle, first thanked the governments of Cuba and Norway, both guarantor nations to peace process, before speaking of a final stretch towards reaching an agreement. The Colombian government promoted a proposed law last week that would put the final accord up for a national plebiscite, but the rebels said they had not been properly consulted over how the vote should take place. A small Canadian diamond company has found what it says is the world's second biggest gem-quality diamond ever recovered, and the largest in more than a century at its mine in Botswana. Lucara Diamond Corporation said on Wednesday that the 1,111-carat stone was found at its Karo mine in north-central Botswana, one of the world's most prolific diamond-producing areas. The Type 2A diamond measures 65 millimeters by 56 millimeters by 40 millimeters. The biggest gem-quality diamond ever found is the Cullinan diamond, a 3,106-carat stone found in the Premier mine in South Africa in 1905. It was cut into several polished gems, the two largest of which are part of Britain's crown jewels. And that's it for today's edition of Newsline. For any comments or suggestions, please feel free to email them to us at newsline.nbt@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook. Just simply type in NNT or check out our website at thainews.prd.go.th/en. We're going to say goodbye now with footage of Tasmanian devils being transported back home to the Australian island after being kept in quarantine from a species-wide cancer plague. I'm Prayuth Chanocha. Have a wonderful day. Sawasdee ka.